For today's generation of students, an active shooter scenario is a real concern.
It's horrible. It's horrible, but now it's a reality. We just have to change with the times.
That's the type of mindset we can't afford.
Changing with the times means different training for school resource officers. Last week, the group worked on school shooter tactical training.
When do I stop turning this?
On Monday, how to deal with combat-type injuries, including how to pack wounds, using a tourniquet, and maintaining a person's airway.
At a certain point in their career, they're going to come across a civilian that's going to need some type of immediate aid. And what we're teaching today are skills that go beyond just basic first aid and basic CPR.
A tourniquet can slow down the bleeding on parts of the body, such as limbs. The basic life-saving technique helped save lives at the 2 mass shootings over the weekend.
No one should die from uncontrolled bleeding, ever. And anyone can be a rescuer and anybody can save a life with just some very basic skills.
The school resource officers do this mandatory training annually. They say that these skills are not important just for them, but for others in the school community to know.
It's critical. Every man, woman, child, professional, civilian needs to have basic life-saving skills.
For you watching at home, remember SMARCH. Secure the situation, stop massive bleeding, check airways, lungs, and blood flow, look for early stages of hypothermia, and evacuate others.
People should not die from loss of blood. That's something that can be alleviated very quickly.
Police in schools is the new normal. These officers hope this training can protect those they care for most if catastrophe strikes.
My kids are the kids at Westside High School. I could see those kids, any one of those kids as being my kid, and it's my job to protect them any way I can.
Reporting in Omaha, Phil Bergman, 3 News Now.
A bizarre series of events in a residential area captured on video has now been viewed over more than 160,000 times on Facebook.
Ready?
Yeah.
A man upset that a car was on his property
I want that truck off my lawn!
decided to take his frustrations out on a local concrete company who was doing some work for the city nearby.
The guy was just upset. Like he just didn't want us there.
The event happened this past weekend when the man stepped out of his home and started harassing the workers of Jackson's Complete Concrete. He was about to hit the truck on his lawn when a worker told him,
You're gonna regret it!
The driver stopped him from breaking his lights. He walked over there to the concrete truck and started breaking his lights.
He hit the concrete truck and then proceeded to step into and eventually fall into the concrete that the workers were laying.
It slowed us up to where we had to rework the concrete all over again. We had already smoothed it up and everything, and then he decided to walk through it.
The company was there to fix part of the road, and the truck that was on the man's lawn that started the entire altercation?
To come to find out, it was his neighbor's truck.
The Douglas County Sheriff's Office tells us he tried to slash his neighbor's tires, broke the headlights of the concrete truck, and ruined the concrete job. All the while, the workers keeping their cool and staying calm.
I was proud of my guys for doing that.
The man caught on video and yelling out derogatory terms.
When he approached me with the hammer, and I asked him what was going on, he called me a name, but I just said, that's all right. So I just walked away from him.
Is now facing some legal troubles. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office says the man is charged with criminal mischief, and he will have to pay a pretty hefty fine. But Carrie Jackson of Jackson's Complete Concrete is just happy that the man didn't take his frustrations any further.
Thank God that it went, calmly like it did, and it didn't escalate worse. See, that he didn't go after none of the guys with the hammer.
Reporting in Omaha, Rudolph Sinaida.
This time of year, Nebraska lawmakers are on recess and typically hold a series of town halls. Recently, Congressman Jeff Fortenberry held one in Bellevue, taking people's questions on the president, health care, and something he didn't expect. A woman asked him to sponsor a bill that may have saved her parents' life. Her parents, Ann and Thomas, died in their late 70s from carbon monoxide poisoning. Reporter John Kipper tells us the story of how the couple's children are lobbying politicians so it never happens again.
For most modern vehicles, you no longer need a key to start your ignition. Instead, you simply need to press a button and the vehicle turns on. And in fact, you can even get out of the car and walk away with the key fob in your hand, and the car will still remain running. Now, while some may like this feature, it cost one Bellevue couple their lives. This past April, Thomas and Ann McKinnon had their bags packed, ready to go on an Alaskan cruise. Sometime in the evening, Ann returned to their Bellevue home after grabbing some last-minute items.
Getting out of the car, slight senior moment, a moment of distraction, whatever, and she didn't realize the car was still running.
Eventually, the two went to bed with the car on. Carbon monoxide began to fill their home. At some point, Ann collapsed on the floor.
My father very likely may have seen that or heard that and woke up and immediately went to her. And they were found at the foot of the bed, my dad holding my mom with his head bowed over her.
Got her to the foot of the bed and just, it broke him.
The only silver lining in all of this is that they were married for 52 years. My father loved my mother and they went together.
Their kids, Sharon and David, assumed they went on the trip. 12 days later, David found his parents dead. The two grieved for a while, but eventually their sorrow turned into something else.
And that's where I started to get angry.
Their 2017 Hyundai Tucson, like many vehicles driven in the U.S., has a keyless ignition and only turns off when you press the button again. Some vehicles have a mechanism that automatically turns the idle vehicle off after some time, but many don't.
There isn't any regulation, so it's really up to them to self-regulate and put whatever features they feel they want to. So there isn't anything uniform across the field of trucks, vehicles, SUVs.
Just in the last few years, there have been several instances in the Omaha area. Sharon has documented them and is getting to work trying to make changes.
I just don't understand why, if they know there's a problem, why they wouldn't fix it.
This past Wednesday, her Congressman Jeff Fortenberry held a town hall. She spoke up. He listened. He actually called her the next day, saying he would co-sponsor a bill in the House that would force automakers to add the function that would have saved Thomas and Ann's life.
It doesn't necessarily take legislation, it's just the possibility of a bill targeting the industry actually will make them change, and some car makers already have.
Sharon and David are pleasantly surprised at the quick response from their representative in Washington.
Throwing the Hail Mary in a Super Bowl and it got caught and she's inside the 10-yard line.
Sometimes legislation that has deep, deep meaning doesn't necessarily have to have large numbers, it just has to have the right moment. Sharon has helped create that right moment.
Sharon is also trying to reach out to Senators Deb Fischer and Ben Sasse so they can co-sponsor the Senate version of the bill. She's also considering a lawsuit against the car company. A young woman in the intensive care unit in Omaha had a wish to marry her boyfriend. Her nurses wanted to make that wish come true and turned to a wedding Facebook group with a request to borrow a wedding dress. That post quickly took off, and in a matter of minutes, the wedding became a reality. Photojournalist Wade Lux was there as the two became husband and wife, thanks to the generosity of an entire community.
So, we kind of surprised them. Melissa's getting married on Monday.
Once I got the news that today was the day, I was kind of anxious and ready for today to arrive and to happen. I'm very, very happy about how it came. Once I saw her, I was like, wow, that's really her. That's really her. That's my wife. That is my wife. That is my wife. Now and forever.
Having us help her with this dream, was just something that she didn't have to worry about. One less thing that she had to worry about.
Tonight I decided that I would put a post on this wedding Facebook page that I'm on and ask if anybody had a dress they wanted to donate. And it literally went viral within minutes. People just came out of the woodwork who don't know Melissa and Aris and just wanted to bless them and be a part of this day.
In the name of Jesus Christ, I declare you husband and wife.
I know she can't say, but in her heart, she loves me and she's really happy. I love you too, Nana. Now and forever, okay? And I told her, once we get out of here together, you can tell me whatever you want. Whatever you want to tell me, you're gonna tell me. Just get better, okay? Together we'll do it, okay? When people think about hospitals, ICU, they think about sadness. But not today. Today's a happy day.
News and posts about mass shootings and other violent incidents can take over your social media feeds, TVs, and radios. It can be tough for adults to process, but for kids, they may not understand what they're seeing and hearing, and it affects them. I recently spoke to a child psychiatrist about how to navigate these tough topics with your children.
The main thing for parents, and I'm also a father of 4, is that you have to understand you control the media access to your family, right?
Dr. Howard Liu, a child psychiatrist at Nebraska Medicine, says you should pay attention to what your kids are seeing and talk to them about it. First, listen to any questions or worries they may have.
Kids often don't have the context. They need their parents or their guardians to help explain how does that translate to my school, to my teacher, to my classroom. And I think that's what's not controlled if you're just letting them browse through the internet or watch things randomly.
Most mental health experts say you should avoid watching the news coverage around toddlers and preschoolers. For older kids, watch it with them. The American Psychological Association's 2018 Stress in America survey found that 75% of Generation Z, that's folks ages 15 to 21, said mass shootings are a significant source of stress for them.
Even if you go back to school shopping, you might see some Kevlar backpacks and things, and it's really a different era where it is much more pervasive and things live on social media even long after an event.
Dr. Liu says maintain your routine as much as possible and comfort your child by listening to their concerns and reassuring them how rare these incidents are. And Dr. Liu says you can take these moments of stress and anxiety to talk about mental health. If they're slipping in school or extracurricular activities and you worry about anxiety or depression, reach out to their primary care physician. Corinne?
That's right. The First Amendment lists rights and freedoms that Americans have, but without knowing them, you cannot exercise them.
First Amendment?
Yes.
Oh.
I can't even think about it. Matter of fact, I do not. Freedom of speech, I guess, right?
Right. That's part of it, but most people we met today couldn't tell us all of their First Amendment rights.
There are 5 freedoms guaranteed within our First Amendment. You have freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom to peaceably assemble, freedom of religion, and freedom to petition our government.
A poll study done by Annenberg found that 37% of those surveyed had not a clue what their freedoms were. That's when the Nebraska Broadcasters Association started the Think First campaign. The campaign was proposed in 2018.
So that's why we thought it was the right time to remind people we do have a First Amendment that guarantees these 5 freedoms. If we can get this campaign out on the airwaves and in newspapers and on websites and social media, hopefully we can raise people's attention and interest enough where they'll go back and say, oh, I probably haven't thought about the First Amendment since a civics class or a college course.
Since the start of the campaign, it's gained online traction from hundreds of thousands. So much that last week, the Nebraska Broadcasters Association announced 28 other states are joining them on this campaign to raise awareness.
We do think it's important that all generations have an increased understanding of this, but especially starting with youth today, and whether it's material they get late in their elementary school, middle school, high school, college courses they may take.
Jim Tim of Nebraska Broadcasters Association says it's especially important that young people learn about their freedoms, since they will determine the future of this country. You can find out more information about this group's campaign on our website. In studio, Corinna Fuda, 3 News Now this morning.
A special day for Omaha's most well-known teenager, JoJo Siwa, is back in town for a concert while the mayor proclaims it JoJo Siwa Day. Senior reporter Jake Wiskowski catches up with her on the honor and how excited she is for the show.
They can keep talking that talk, but I'ma keep walking my walk.
She started as JoJo with the Bobo. Now she's everywhere.
Welcome to my beach loft. Come on in.
A YouTube sensation, a Nickelodeon star. JoJo Siwa returns home to Omaha to perform on her dream tour at the Baxter Arena.
They are in store for a surprise. I think it's probably going to be our loudest crowd ever because we are in my hometown. I think people are going to be extra excited. I think our vibe and our morale on stage is going to be so fun. But people can expect to have the time of their life.
More than 6,500 people will pack the Baxter to see the Metro's favorite teen with a bow.
I'ma come back like a boomerang.
JoJo uses her platform to stand up to negativity and bullying. Mayor Gene Stothert proclaims August 6th as Josie Wood Day.
Incredible, incredible. I was just like, that's crazy. Like it's such an honor.
We don't even fight back.
She continues to put out music, star in Nickelodeon shows, is a best-selling author, and her merchandise, not just her bows, are all over. The glitter and big personality are part of who JoJo is, living her dream on her dream tour.
I'm having the time of my life. If I can tour for the rest of my life, I will be the happiest human ever. It's my exact life that I always imagined from when I was little. It's finally reality.
JoJo will keep touring the country through October. You'll also be seeing her or hearing her as a voiceover for one of the characters in the Angry Birds 2 movie. Reporting from the Baxter Arena, Jake Wasikowski, 3 News Now.
And she will finish her tour in Europe. She says the big thing she misses about Omaha, the food. A man apparently running from authorities and shooting at them ends up in a hostage situation. Police say that man was shot and killed by a Council Bluffs police officer. And tonight we're learning it's tied to a man found dead in a home. Senior reporter Jake Wasikowski was on scene and tells us how close witnesses were to this ordeal.
A tense scene unfolds in a neighborhood in the hills of Council Bluffs Wednesday morning. Authorities say it started with a pursuit by a Pottawatomie County deputy at 205th and Juniper at about 2 a.m. The suspect apparently fired at deputies before getting away. CBPD says they follow the pickup and the suspect fires around, hitting their SUV. On Indian Hills Road, the man apparently flips his truck, gets out, and holds a woman hostage. One gun pointing at the officers and another at the female.
Scary. It was scary.
Melody Kreft was just yards away and heard the commotion.
I heard them talking on the intercom or some kind of a system and telling him to put the gun away from himself. And that's pretty much what I heard. He wanted him to end it safely.
Police say the man wouldn't surrender, so an officer fired one round, striking him in the head, killing him. The woman was taken to the hospital to be examined.
I heard one shot, and that was it. Then it was pretty much over. My heart went into my stomach. I felt sad for whoever's family.
Authorities say this is related to a 51-year-old man found dead at noon on Wednesday, but didn't say anything else. No one involved has been identified. Nearby residents understand why the officers did what they did.
Yeah, I love the Council Bluffs police. I got a lot of respect for them, so it's not easy to do their job when they're dealing with people like that.
Authorities say no deputies or officers were injured during the pursuit or hostage situation. Reporting in Council Bluffs, Jake Wasikowski, 3 News Now.
Being stuck on the side of the road is a place no one wants to be, so that's why you call a tow truck driver. But for them, their job can turn potentially deadly when drivers don't follow a certain law or don't pay attention. Reporter John Madden has more on why you should always slow down and move over a lane for anyone on the side of the road, including tow truck drivers.
Before I get out of my truck, every time I say a little prayer to myself, please don't let nothing happen.
It's one of the more dangerous jobs in society today.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10. I mean, we're just in that same amount of danger as just about anybody else.
Charlie Anderson, supervisor and tow truck driver for Auto One Towing, has 8 years of experience under his belt. And during that time, he's had some close calls.
Working on the car on the side of the road, and you can feel the wind of cars going by you. And one in particular just felt like it was so drastically close that I just took my breath away.
This is Anderson's office. And it's usually busy places like the side of Interstate 80, which puts his life in danger by simply doing his job.
These cars are going so fast. I mean, it's a millisecond mistake that can cause some serious damage, if not lose a life.
Lives are lost, and those accidents occur when working on the side of the road and drivers fail to slow down and move over.
A driver dies every 6 days in the United States. And that's just tow truck drivers.
To get an idea of how dangerous it can be, Anderson and I parked on the side of I-80 to see how many drivers were cutting it close. Even with the yellow emergency lights flashing, in a span of 28 seconds, we saw 11 drivers fail to slow down and move over.
I don't think they've ever been by the side of the road and to feel the wind rushing past them and how close those cars actually are and how fast they're going.
Debbie Gett works dispatch and knows the dangers of sending someone out on a job to a place like I-80.
These guys are putting their lives on the line every time they go out.
The cars pose other hazards as well. When they speed by, it creates a rocky situation.
Of course, it's kicking up gravel or carrying gravel with cars like that. Gets in your eyes if you're not careful.
Why don't drivers slow down and move over? Those with Auto One Towing thinks it's one or two things. One, drivers simply don't know the law or the dangers it can cause. Or two, drivers may be distracted by their cell phones and fail to look up until it's too late.
When there's a car on the side of the road, flashing lights, anything on the side of the road, they should be a little bit more cautious. At least slow down a little bit.
Anderson hopes to continue making people aware of the issue, which then improves his chances of making it home from a long day at the office. In Omaha, John Madden, 3 News Now.
According to the Nebraska State Patrol, you will be cited if you fail to slow down and move over for vehicles on the side of the road. You can find our Safe Roads Now coverage on our website at 3newsnow.com/news/SafeRoadsNow. Be sure to tell us how distracted drivers are affecting you.
This year, the state legislature approved the production of industrial hemp.
So far, 10 farms have gotten a state license to grow the plant.
3 News Now reporter Corinne Hafuda joins us now with a look at how that first growing season is going.
A hop farm and beer brewery is now growing hemp this summer with the help of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And with growing hemp comes major payoffs.
I'm excited to see the first legal hemp farming in Nebraska here.
These 3-week-old hemp plants are calling this farm in Plattsmouth, Nebraska home. In a big market growing corn and soybeans, these plants may seem little, but in about 3 months they can grow to the size of a Christmas tree. A groundbreaking move for Midwest hop producers. After just 3 weeks of being licensed, they and University of Nebraska-Lincoln are already growing a little under 300 hemp plants.
So there is a huge potential for the farmers in Nebraska here to learn and to start growing hemp for CBD.
The Midwest hop producers say they're excited to break the farming norm and say there is so much more money in this industry. Although the costs for CBD hemp plants are high, about $5 a plant, the benefits are even higher, making about $200,000 an acre depending on quality.
You know, our big thing was corn and beans. There's just not a lot of money in it today, and especially with kids coming out of college and getting in and learning about some of these crops and being able to share that knowledge with them. It's another opportunity that they may not have ever had with corn and beans.
Trying to switch the way Nebraska sees and does agriculture in the future, now pushing forward the CBD mass production, saying the CBD producing crop is what farmers should try to work with on their off season. The CBD compound in the hemp plant that is increasingly high in demand, good for oils, medicine, and food, with other parts of the hemp plant that can even be used for clothing. Because they're still in the early stages of hemp production, the farm told me they're going to have to see which of the 4 breeds they're growing does well in this climate. In studio, Corinne Hafuda.
The last Democratic debate has Senator Elizabeth Warren in second place behind Joe Biden. The surging candidate spoke tonight to a packed house in Council Bluffs.
I got a lot of plans.
She's not kidding. The senator from Massachusetts has put out a series of plans on items like climate change, childcare, and taxes. Warren told the crowd that the country needs structural change. That includes taxing Americans that make over $50 million a year, even more.
But your 50 millionth and first dollar, you got to pitch in 2 cents. And 2 cents for every dollar after that.
With that money, she says she would help wipe away the country's student loan debt, provide free childcare and preschool to children, and give broadband internet to the most rural parts of the country.
When the giants don't want to serve our smaller communities, then I'm for a public option. Let's let the communities build it themselves.
That is one of several issues she came to Iowa to focus on. She's labeling the stop as her farm tour, first going to Pacific Junction earlier in the day. One flood victim told her that she likes the Medicare for All plan Warren endorses because it would make it cheaper for her and other victims of the flood to get treated for the mental health issues they've dealt with since the flood.
2 weeks ago, I kind of broke down myself and
I just turned to my husband and said, I got to get some help.
She rarely mentioned President Trump, but did say that she believes he embraces dictators. She said after the speech that she'll flip that, working with allies on trade, securing the world, and investing in struggling nations.
When we work with our allies on one thing, it makes it easier to work on another and yet another.
And the campaign said that 1,100 people attended the rally tonight, and afterwards, anybody that wanted one could take a selfie with the senator. Reporting in studio, John Kipper, 3 News Now.
Well, I'm never going to sleep easy till we get that championship. And even when we get the championship, I'm not even going to sleep easy because I'm going to be hungry and I want more.
A very motivated Nebraska running backs coach Ryan Held in the Huskers holding their first full padded practice of fall camp today. Head coach Scott Frost even throwing the football around a little bit. Fans loving that. After 5 practices, the talk not surprisingly surrounding true freshman receiver Wandale Robinson.
He's staying healthy. That was the key in spring. He was nicked up a little bit. So he's doing a good job taking care of his body. Did a good job in the summertime taking care of his body. And he's everything that we hope for. You know, he keeps getting better. He makes plays as a receiver. He's making plays as a running back. And so that dual threat option is going to cause challenges for opposing defenses.
Meanwhile, another skill player on offense earning early praise. Dedrick Mills, the JUCO transfer, played as a freshman at Georgia Tech, where he was the Yellow Jackets' leading rusher since he's been a Husker. There's been some comparisons to Divine Ozigbo.
Dedrick is a hammer. You know, Divine had a little more of probably finesse, but when we go our power stuff and it's downhill, the pile's going that way when he hits it downhill. He's probably one of the best backs I've had in year 4 at the places of hitting it downhill.
Nebraska back at practice tomorrow.
Prosecutors detail a crime spree throughout rural Potawatomi County and Council Bluffs, but the entire scope of it was even surprising to deputies and officers on scene on Wednesday. Wednesday morning, Troy Peterson shoots at deputies and officers before a standoff where he supposedly takes a woman hostage. An unidentified officer shoots him in the head and he dies.
The investigations are still underway. Part of that includes the interview of the officer who fired the shot yesterday to end the hostage situation. And for that reason, we'll not be releasing his name at this time.
Now, authorities say the 28-year-old Peterson and April Montello Roberts broke into 2 separate homes and killed 2 men. The first on August 3rd. Police say the pair tried to rob 52-year-old Jared Clark at his 6th Avenue home, but shot him and killed him.
He pretty much kept to himself.
Helen Freese's family lives a few houses down and says it's a surprise to hear how it all unfolded.
It was kind of a shock, this close to my parents' house, and they couldn't believe that something like this had happened in the neighborhood.
On August 7th, the pair fire a weapon at a Pot County deputy before fleeing. They then allegedly break into 51-year-old Stephen Carlson's home and shoot him multiple times, killing him in rural Pot County. When police catch up with him later, they had no idea about the murders. They're still trying to figure out the motive.
We know there is some relationship to the victim on 6th Avenue, Mr. Clark. We are not aware of any connection or relationship whatsoever to Mr. Carlson. Unfortunately, in an instance like this, that's the question that we never get to answer is why.
Montello Roberts has been charged with 2 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, robbery, and burglary. Montello Roberts had her bond set at $2.2 million. I called the county jail to ask for an interview request. She declined our request. Reporting in Council Bluffs, Jake Wazakowski, 3 News Now.
This is supposed to be a sidewalk.
It's a mess, isn't it?
You be careful.
Oh, I am.
Instead, a hazard to some who live here at the Orchards at Wildwood Apartments in La Vista.
I couldn't take my garbage out if I had to.
Deborah Odo is in a wheelchair. She had a stroke 2 years ago. This mess limits her access.
Because you could fall and get hurt. I'm safety for all my neighbors, too. Okay, open up the door, please.
Deborah has to take a longer route.
This is the hallway.
Through her building, needing help to open doors to get out. It's a tough task since she's disabled.
I mean, a lot of people probably don't think it's much, but it really is when you can't get out.
She isn't alone. Her neighbor, Don, is tired of dealing with it.
I got to watch her step. I can't see that good, and I'm not balanced that good. I can't walk that good.
The sidewalk was torn up beginning around July 25th. Since then, nothing has been done. leaving a hazard for seniors to navigate.
The manager here says it's out of her hands, that she's a middleman. It's all corporate.
The 3 News Now investigative team reached out to the apartment management and the company who owns the property, Somerset Pacific LLC, based out of Idaho. It says the company they originally hired to do the job walked away. They're now in the process of finding a new vendor, and that work will begin in the near future. It really couldn't come soon enough. This is a headache for those who deal with it. Surprisingly, after we visited the complex, they put up this caution tape. Mind you, it did take them several days to do this. But with the assurances that this problem will be fixed, it's a step in the right direction.
Right, we pay a lot of money for rental. We should have to live like this.
On an interesting side note, the day after we visited with Deborah, who complained about the safety hazard, she has been notified she's going to be evicted from the apartment complex. Now, we did reach out to management about this. They say that this was an ongoing issue for quite some time, long before she complained about the sidewalk. I'm Jeff Van Sant, 3 News Now.
To see all of our investigative stories, visit our website, 3newsnow.com. And if you have a story idea for the I-Team, email news@3newsnow.com. Firefighters worked to wake up residents before dealing with an apartment fire near 141st and Manderson Plaza early Thursday morning. Reporter Corinne Hafuda was on the scene and talked to a couple that they thought lost everything, but found out an Omaha firefighter saved one very important belonging.
Shocked, very shocked. Didn't think I would live through something like this.
You can never be prepared to be shaken awake in the middle of the night with the news that your home is burning down. That's what happened to this couple who was getting married in about 2 months. The Omaha Fire Department says a unit in the building caught fire after smoking materials were discarded on the balcony. Jordan Hollingsworth, his fiance, and their 1-year-old child got out safely, but worried about items still inside.
So we have a wedding about 2.5 months away. The wedding dress and the rest of our wedding stuff, some of our wedding stuff, not all of it, there's some back home, but some of our wedding stuff was in the building when the fire was going on. I asked the firefighter if he can go get some of it, and he went and got it. And he went and got the wedding dress and was able to save that, and we got the rest of our wedding stuff out.
Their apartment unit was declared a total loss, but with the help of Omaha Fire Department, they were able to save some very important items.
It's a big day for them, and so if we can do something else on top of it, it's no different than when we go and save the animals. When we have dogs and cats and everything else, that's somebody's valuables, and it's going to be extremely important to that individual in the next day or two. So if we can help that out as best we can, we'll do whatever we can.
As far as fresh starts go, the couple says they have to find a place to stay and try to pick up some extra work hours, but are hopeful things will be okay in time for the wedding. Reporting in West Omaha, Corinne Hafuda, 3 News Now.
The fire displaced people in 11 other units. The Red Cross is helping all people affected.
After losing all-time leading receiver in Stanley Morgan Jr., Nebraska football needs other wideouts besides J.D. Spielman to step up. One answer could be Kunavai Noah. The Cal grad transfer had over 1,200 receiving yards in his 3 seasons with the Bears.
So I'm a quiet dude, and Coach Frost is a super family, religious, and I think he's a very quiet dude when, he's not a obnoxious, all-out there type of coach. Immediately when I came on my visit, I felt at home.
He's come in, learned the offense, can play multiple positions on offense, is a tough kid, and, he's a great addition to the offense.
Noah and the Huskers back at practice tomorrow. Scott Frost scheduled to speak afterward.
Right, well, they're still conducting their homicide investigation. They've been here for hours. Now we're on Benson on Maple, just west of the waiting room lounge. Streets are blocked off from the 63rd to 62nd. So if you're driving this morning, try to avoid this area. It's getting a little bit trafficy. Now, numerous squad cars and forensic investigators are trying to piece together what happened this morning. Police told us a man was shot just west of the waiting room lounge just before midnight. His body was found in the bushes somewhere in front of the pregnancy clinic next door, which is actually on the corner of 62nd, and when the police got to the scene, the man had already been dead, and the suspect fled the scene. Now police are still trying to find the suspect and believe someone took a video of the shooting. And just a little bit ago, there was a crowd not cooperating with police, shouting and yelling outside, but no word if they're related to the victim. Now we're continuing to track the story down, so stay with us on 3 News Now, and we'll have the updates as we go. Reporting live in Benson, Corinna Fuda, 3 News Now this morning.
Stay connected at 3newsnow.com.